was thick with the scent of pine and earth. Life flowed like the river that wound through the valley. The villagers, simple and steadfast, lived by the rhythms of nature, their days painted with the soft hues of dawn and dusk. Yet, one fateful day, the tranquility of their existence was shattered by the arrival of a stranger, a woman whose beauty was as intoxicating as it was terrifying. She emerged from the shadows, a figure cloaked in mystery, her raven-black hair cascading down her back like a waterfall of night. Her skin gleamed like porcelain under the sun, and her eyes, deep and piercing, seemed to hold the weight of 1,000 secrets. They called her Soledad, but whispers swept through the village, branding her with a name that sent shivers down spines. La Basilisk, the Basilisk, a creature of legend said to possess the power to kill with a single glance. Soledad took residence in an abandoned mansion that loomed at the edge of the village, its crumbling walls entwined with ivy, its windows dark and lifeless, as though the very house mourned the absence of light. The villagers, steeped in superstition, murmured tales of curses and shadows, but Soledad remained unfazed. She was a queen in her desolation, and the mansion was her throne. As days turned into nights and nights into days, Soledad rarely ventured from her lair, but when she did, the villagers were entranced. Men would stop mid-sentence, their hearts racing as she glided past, a vision of elegance and danger. Women stared, caught in a web of envy and awe, their eyes wide as they beheld the allure that seemed to radiate from her very being. Yet, beneath the surface of her beauty, an unsettling truth lurked. Those who dared to gaze too long into her eyes found themselves consumed by an invisible fire, their bodies withering away as if drained of life itself. Fear began to weave its way through the village, a dark thread stitching together the hearts of the people. The village priest, Father Miguel, was the first to voice the unspoken dread that gripped their souls. He had read of the Basilisk, a creature of darkness, and he felt the weight of his knowledge pressing heavily upon him. He warned the villagers to steer clear of Soledad, but his words fell upon deaf ears, drowned out by the siren song of her beauty. One by one, the villagers succumbed to her spell. A young farmer, bold enough to court her, was found lifeless in his fields, his face twisted in terror. A mother, furious at her child for staring too long at Soledad, fell ill and slipped away within days. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of fear and suspicion. They spoke of Soledad as if she were a creature sent to punish them for their sins, a dark angel with a heart as cold as the stones that lined their village paths. Yet amidst the dread, there was a flicker of defiance, a spark of courage embodied in a young man named Carlos. Brave and kind, he possessed a heart full of dreams and a spirit untainted by fear. Unlike the others, he saw not a monster but a woman, lonely and misunderstood, trapped within the confines of her own curse. He felt drawn to her, as if fate itself had woven their paths together. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet, Carlos made his way to the mansion. He knocked softly, and when the door creaked open, he was met with Soledad's gaze, an intoxicating mix of surprise and sorrow. "Why have you come?" she asked, her voice a haunting melody that lingered in the air. "To see you," Carlos replied, his voice steady, unwavering. "To understand you." A smile flickered across Soledad's lips, but it held no joy. "You are brave," she murmured, "but you do not know what you are asking for." As the days turned to weeks, conversations weaving a tapestry of shared dreams and unspoken fears. Soledad revealed her past, a tale steeped in betrayal and darkness. "I was not always like this," she confessed, her voice trembling with the weight of her sorrow. "Once, I was a woman like any other, but betrayal led me to make a pact with the devil, and in my despair, I was granted this beauty at a terrible price. Anyone who looks into my eyes with desire will die." Carlos felt his heart shatter at her words. He longed to save her, to break the curse that bound her to this fate, but Soledad's gaze was heavy with despair. "The only way to break the curse is for someone to love me without fear, without desire," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "But who could love a monster?" Determination ignited within Carlos. He was resolute in his belief that love could transcend even the darkest of curses. He looked into Soledad's mesmerizing eyes, not with desire, but with pure, selfless love. For a fleeting moment, hope flickered in the air, and Soledad's eyes glistened with unshed tears. But then, as if the universe conspired against them, a sharp pain pierced Carlos's chest. He fell to the ground, his body convulsing as life ebbed away. Soledad's cries echoed through the empty halls of the mansion, but it was too late. Carlos was gone, his sacrifice a testament to the depth of his love, yet it had only confirmed Soledad's darkest fears. Devastation consumed her as she realized the truth. She was a monster, doomed to bring death to anyone who dared to love her. That night, under a cloak of darkness, Soledad vanished into the shadows, leaving behind a village steeped in sorrow and fear. The villagers searched for her, but she became a ghost, a fleeting memory whispered among the living. Some believed she had thrown herself into the river, while others insisted she had returned to the devil who had cursed her. The mansion stood empty, its windows dark and lifeless, a hollow shell of what once was. Yet, on quiet nights, when the moon cast eerie shadows across the land, the villagers would hear a faint, mournful song drifting through the air, a haunting melody that spoke of love, loss, and the eternal dance between beauty and death. And in those moments, they understood that La Basiliska was not just a creature